So I think we're probably really, really proud of the work that we did with Alex Honnold, because he is known as a world-class trad climber and free soloist, but Ollie worked with him during a period when he was touring all over the world, going to all these film premieres and doing a lot of travel, and really kind of impractical to do a lot of training, to then achieving his first 9A on sport, which really isn't in Alex's sort of specialization or wheelhouse as such. And on top of what you would normally say as being too much going on, it's not practical to achieve your new physical limit. And it doesn't play to his physical strengths either. So I think that's certainly someone that, yeah, as an organization and certainly for Ollie as well, is really proud of that work, because I think that was challenging to do that. And, loads of hard work went in from Alex, but you certainly had to take a smart approach with training under that kind of framework.
Yeah, this is, I mean, somebody who's got endurance coming out of his ears because he had just come off of doing the free rider in a couple hours and this kind of thing. But to climb 9A, 14D, I'm assuming took a different level of strength or recruitment or tension. I think he spent some time with you all in Sheffield when he was on that film tour. Can you give me
Mhm.
a insight on what areas of opportunity? I won't call them weaknesses because he's obviously a very strong climber, but what areas of opportunity you identified and how you helped him to focus on those to achieve that level up on the sports side?
So one of the obvious standout things that came out straight away was the level of finger strength that
Mm.
Alex had, and which isn't massively surprising because he's a trad climber. He's very fit, spent a lot of time doing high volume work. So naturally, those climbers do have relatively weaker fingers compared to their sort of peers at the same kind of grade. And so that stood out as something that really needed to be worked on to have a better chance of achieving 9A. And then also the amount of generalized strength and conditioning that he had in the upper body that was more suited towards that high intensity bouldering power work. Like the project that he had was really steep, and there was certainly a lot of work that had to be done on that front. But like many of these things, it's about saying there may be 6 or 7 things that we could work on here, but let's focus on one or two which will make a significant difference. Do a really good job on those one or two. See how that is after a year. Maybe that's enough to achieve the goals, and then sort of reiterate from there and just take a focused approach.
All right, y'all, just a quick minute here to shout out today's sponsor, which is Scarpa. Oh, I'm so psyched. My very first pair of climbing shoes and approach shoes were by Scarpa, and I have loved them ever since. I'm so grateful that they're supporting the show here. Y'all, whether you are smearing granite like Amity Warm, towing into steep pockets like Matty Hong, bouncing from volume to volume like Nathaniel Coleman, or tossing crazy heel hooks like Alex Puccio, Scarpa has got you. They have been making the best footwear for peak performance as well as sustainability since 1938. They are here to take care of your adventures. You can shop the entire collection at scarpa.com. Scarpa, no place too far. Let's get back to the video. I'm curious, when you work with somebody like Alex or other elite athletes where you identify that finger strength is an area of opportunity, uh, is it as simple as programming some hangboarding or limit bouldering, or what does that look like for those who are at that very high end?
Yeah, so at the elite end, it's very much a combination of hangboard work or pickup work as well. We tend to use a combination of both of those in terms of finger strength work and high intensity bouldering. Both of those are very effective ways of building finger strength, and they just need to be cycled into the right part of the plan in an appropriate phase, and understand that if you're trying to work on that basic maximal strength, so the capacity for the forearm flexors to generate force, it's generally going to have better results from working in a targeted, specific, controllable, measurable way on a fingerboard or lifting versus on a system board. but it's not to say that the system board isn't really good in terms of being used in conjunction with that work, but also to fine tune it at the end in terms of developing rate of force development and your contact strength, that it may well also be known as, or the power to be able to pull from those positions and generate tension through the body from sort of tip to toe.
Right. Well, one of the most impressive things I think you pulled off with Alex in this whole thing was getting him to actually do that stuff. Because every time I talk to him, he says he just likes to climb. He just wants to be outside climbing 7 days a week and forget the gym, and forget the garage and these kinds of things. So the fact that you were able to get him to actually stick to a program, that's some 9A coaching.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a good effort from him because it isn't his thing as such. But we always hope that when we work with anyone, even if they don't end up training with us or with themselves for years and years, and they don't, get overly obsessed with training, at least they get a window into understanding how much that can change their performance, whether that's 6 months or a year or a little bit longer sometimes, because that's useful knowledge. You get to understand, what does my body do if I put it through smart training? And then you can walk away from that and go, yeah, I like what it did and I want to do more of that, or I'm going to do that intermittently during certain parts of the year. Or it can be, it sucked, it's not right for me mentally, I just need to be at the crag 100% of the time and I don't like it. And then at least you've tried it one phase of your life and you can say, no, I'm going to go back to what I did before, which is perfectly fine, because it's just an exercise in understanding yourself and what your needs and wants are.
No, I think that's a great point. It's interesting. When I had a conversation with Alex Honnold on this podcast, he has to switch between very cautious free solo mentality, is very different than when he's trying to do a limit project on a rope on a sport route, where you have to be willing to take what are perceived as risks, but not, he doesn't see them as risks, but like, lower percentage movement is what he would say. Is there anything else on the day, little tips or tricks, little secrets, things that you might be implementing as you go out and try what might be a limit project here with Pete pretty soon, that you like to implement?
Yes. So I think one tip that I have for everyone and I really like using is, I try and bring as many familiar routine elements into my red point days as I possibly can, so that I'm not digesting new information as such. So I'm someone that I get overstimulated by things effectively. And if I get overstimulated, I'm not in the best mental state for actually climbing something really hard, because I actually climb quite well when I'm really calm. So if I see that I've got a new harness and a slightly different chalk bag that I usually use, and I'm using my friend's rope rather than my rope, and I don't know, all those little things that are slightly different, that for me is just adds in to the overstimulation pile. And then I've been thinking about that new harness and going, oh, I like that new feature there. Or, oh, I don't know whether I like that tie-in loop there. It looks different to normal. Or, oh, does that rope work with that really old Grigori? Like, there's just these extra things that you end up thinking about. And the same goes for food actually as well, is take the same kind of stuff that you're just familiar with and it seems really boring and routine. So in an ideal way, I would say, turn up with the partner you've climbed for the last 10 years, the rope that you've climbed with for the last 2 years, the same harness, the same shoes, exactly the same peanut butter sandwich that you eat every freaking Tuesday. Like, keep all those things consistent, because there's plenty of other stuff which is very stimulating, which is trying really hard to red point something which is at your limit, and that's where your energy basket wants to go.